When news broke there was a mass shooting at the world-renowned Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia.
This is just where it happened behind us. Look right across Bondi. This is a scene you never could have imagined.
We knew two things would be true. One, there would be a lot of people around when bullets started flying. And two, there would also be lots of cameras.
Oh! Oh no!
That piece of video, which has circulated now around the world, it very possibly represents the moment the course of the entire shooting changed instantly. Two men, two fathers, wrestling for control of a single gun. The man who had been doing the shooting in the black shirt, white pants, his son is also armed at this moment, firing on civilians about 50 meters away. The man in the white shirt, about to put himself in harm's way.
That man is a genuine hero, and I've got no doubt that there are many, many people alive tonight as a result of his bravery.
I'm going to show you what happened, and a warning, the footage you'll see is raw, and the events they depict deeply disturbing. But we can begin by setting the scene and answering the question, why open fire here?
It is Australia's worst mass shooting in nearly 30 years. After 15 people died, including a 10-year-old girl. 40 others remain in hospital.
Bondi Beach is Australia's most famous beach. Millions of people visit a year, tens of thousands a day. And that was most certainly the case on this particular day, December 14th.
The start of Hanukkah and the start of summer in Sydney, Australia was supposed to be a celebration.
This event was called Hanukkah by the Sea. Well over 1,000 people were there, according to local police. It took place near the children's playground, for all ages, billed as a family event. It was also unique because of its time zone. Sydney would be one of the first places on Earth on this day to welcome the light of the menorah, except instead, there was gunfire.
About 6:47 p.m. this evening, police started to receive a number of reports of shots fired at Archer Park.
Archer Park is on the northern half of Bondi Beach. The playground mentioned in the event poster is here, and those celebrating would have been in this grassy area. But this bridge would become the focal point, because it's from here a pair of shooters would eventually open fire.
I can say that we are not looking for a further offender. We are satisfied that there were two offenders involved in yesterday's incident.
The shooters, police say, are father and son. The guns used, possibly legally owned, because one of the suspects had 6 guns licensed to him, and police found 6 guns on site and in a subsequent search in a different location. In this verified video footage, there's a point at which we can see the father in the white pants moving down the stairs. This is the bridge he and his son were firing from. Here are the stairs he's walking down towards this set of picnic tables. Now, I've watched a few different angles of what happens next, and by matching and time-stamping these angles right down to the second, by my count, the father spends 2 minutes and 12 seconds at ground level, while his son is firing from the bridge above. At that point, 2 minutes and 12 seconds later, a bystander sneaks up on the father.
Oh!
That man in the white shirt is Ahmed Al-Ahmed, a 43-year-old father of 2 young girls. That's him in hospital with gunshot wounds, with the Premier of New South Wales calling him a real-life hero. Now, the takedown video, even if you've seen it before, what you probably didn't know was that Al-Ahmed was in even more danger than he probably realized. We've synchronized these 2 angles, so they're showing the same moment in time, but from different vantage points. On the left, the gun being wrestled away. But see how quickly the shooter's son realizes that his father's in trouble. He notices, rushes down the stairs, and gives cover fire while his father makes his way back to the bridge. It takes him 40 seconds to get there from the moment he loses his gun, at which point his son waves him up, shuffles to the side, takes a few paces, very quickly ducks down, which we can see taking place from this angle as well. There's the wave, partially obscured by the lamppost. His father immediately makes his way up the stairs, and there's that sidestep shuffle, a few paces, then immediately taking cover. The 2 shooters are under fire themselves. Police have arrived by this point, and We won't show you the most graphic parts of the shootout that follow, but within about 35 seconds of father and son being reunited in their shooting spree on the bridge, the father is hit, killed, we would later learn. His son has almost no time to tend to his father at all because he's taking fire from multiple angles. He's shooting, ducking, but only lasts another couple of minutes. He's shot multiple times from a distance. He collapses, and a minute later, bystanders are actually the first to press into the scene, realizing both shooters are down and signaling to police that it's okay to approach. One of them is even possibly mistaken for a gunman himself, which is maybe a reminder of how dangerous it can be to approach the scene of an active shooting. But police eventually close in and arrest the lone surviving gunman while shouting at the civilians crowding around them, especially the ones who've decided to get into a fist fight, to just get out.
Welcome to MixedBag, where variety is the fun of life. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more future videos. Now, let's dive into a subject that is currently making headlines in Australia, and indeed, all over the world, involving the iconic Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. According to news sources, on a supposedly peaceful Sunday, the December 14, 2025, a father and son duo of the Muslim faith, who for some reason had 6 gun licenses, or should I say guns at their disposal, decided to shoot innocent civilians attending Hanukkah celebrations. 15 lives were lost that day. There was an alleged hero named Ahmed al-Ahmed, a Syrian Muslim who also happened to be there on the scene, who says that he was not in on it with the father and son duo. What other reason would Ahmed have to be there? When things didn't go according to plan, he decided to play the hero in this unfortunate story. Funnily enough, he was wearing a white shirt whilst the other two were wearing black shirts. You get what I mean? White stands for purity, light, goodness, while black stands for evil. Nonetheless, Ahmed only for a mere matter of seconds tackled the father to the ground, then proceeded to hold the gun for a few seconds, lean the weapon against the tree. Then a further random man, also wearing a white shirt, threw something which looked like stones at the gunman. To continue on, Ahmed is now considered a national Australian hero even by the NUS Premier himself.
Genuine hero.
Now, let's get even further into this. Why are so many Israelis Tel Aviv security at this joyous occasion at Bondi Beach? See what this guy named Yossi Landau has to say. When did Mr. Lando land in Australia?
Now, Israel's Zaka search and recovery team has been deployed to Sydney in the wake of the terrorist attack here at Bondi Beach. And spokesperson Yossi Landau joins us now here at the makeshift memorial. Yossi, welcome to News Breakfast. I wish it was under better circumstances. You've flown in from Bondi. This attack has, though, reverberated around the world. What was your reaction to hearing the news?
Basically, we're based in Tel Aviv, in Israel, and we're used to terror attacks, unfortunately. And when we got this notice about this terror attack, it felt very bad, especially when you have children involved. And we know, as a father of children, when they get involved, it hurts and it bothers, and therefore we came out all from Tel Aviv, our group, as a search and rescue unit, and as respecting the remains and respecting the families. That's our mission. And
what sort of work do you do now that you're out here?
We have a lot of missions that we do, but one of our main missions is identifying every unnatural death and giving the respect for the families, because in the Jewish tradition, you have some, the blood has to be all taken and be buried. It's a proper burial, and that's for the families too. And we know that when a family member comes and sees the beloved ones, they want to remember them as they were alive. So we come into the picture and we make sure that we give the full respect and we pay a solidarity for the community in Sydney, that a lot of people that lost the beloved ones, and the entire community is terrified, and we know how it feels, so we will be there to support them. And I want to thank for the officials, for the government, for the officials, for the hospitality. Thank you very much. And we're going to be here to help them and to be next to them.
Yossi, how many of your team flew out here from Tel Aviv?
10 volunteers that they just left the families, and we know it's a holiday. It's a family holiday. Hanukkah is a family holiday, and we left all our families behind, and we just came to be with each and every one that needs our help.
Just very briefly, before we let you go, did you ever think something like this would happen in Australia?
No, never. It was shocking, and we all pray and we all hope this is going to be the first one and the last one. And my feelings is terrible.
I think you're feeling the same way that so many people are this morning. Yossi Landau, thank you so much for joining our program this morning.
Thank you.
How did Yossi Landau and his team manage to get out to Australia so quickly from Tel Aviv, convenient or not? It is like the Jews organized this terror attack from the very beginning. Like shown in the first clip, they just were already in Bondi for the very first Hanukkah in the world. How weird. Or just intentionally done with bad intentions in mind. Why are they asking everybody for blood donations when they should only be asking Jews and Muslims? Other people have nothing to do with this. To all the gullible humans out there, isn't it odd to any of you that after the shootings there is a huge call out for blood donations? Well, whoever donated is blind enough to believe the lie. Many are attending blood clinics to donate for a supposed good cause, so that Jews can get more blood. Jews and Muslims should donate, then isn't their blood halal enough? They are especially asking, or should I say targeting, people with the O blood type to donate because they are the only universal donor that can help in an emergency situation where they wouldn't know the person's blood type. Especially to all who have this blood type. You are all so naive. Do you think almost any Jews would help you if roles were reversed? Look what is happening in Israel and Palestine. Don't you understand those who are O can only receive the same blood type back? Nonetheless, according to the ABC, blood was transported interstate from Victoria, to be more exact, O blood. But no one is paying attention to any of this, well, most of you anyway. The news corporations are encouraging anyone Australia-wide to donate. See the next few clips from the ABC.
The Red Cross has received a huge amount of people coming in to give blood, from not just here in Sydney, but right around the country. Our reporter, Molly Slattery, is across this. Molly, it's really encouraging to see everyday Australians rolling up their sleeves and trying to help out.
It certainly is, James. Lifeblood has told us yesterday there were 40,000 people who rolled up their sleeves to donate blood. It's more than 300% than an ordinary day. So there certainly was that enormous outpouring of support. Australians right across the country feeling this, the sort of sense of a calling to help in a situation where many of us can feel so helpless and powerless. And now for many Australians waking up this morning, 2 days on from the absolutely harrowing scenes we saw at Bondi on Sunday, asking how can I help? This is a very simple but very powerful solution being presented by Lifeblood. They say roll up your sleeves, donate. In instances of serious incidents like this, where so many people are so badly hurt, donations are needed more than ever. In some cases, more than 100 donations can be needed to save just one life. And as we've heard, there are still so many people recovering from those very serious injuries in hospitals across Sydney. So these donations are certainly being put to very good good use. Now, we heard yesterday from New South Wales Premier Chris Minns about how this is a really practical way to make a change.
If you are looking for something practical to do, you could give blood. We saw extraordinary scenes from New South Wales public hospitals last night. Emergency departments, at the drop of a hat, were in the process of saving scores of lives. They did an incredible job, but they need your help.
When I saw a 10-year-old little girl was one of the victims that passed away, it's not on. I'm here for the children.
Just really shattered my soul. And to know that I was coming in today to do this, to give back, it gives me a tremendous sense of satisfaction.
I'm not really good with needles, but as I say, it's one of those, there are people who are hurt.
This is my first time donating blood, and we saw just online that they were calling for people to donate blood.
Amazing to see how many people have just turned up, and there's people waiting 2 or 3 hours just so they can get a spot in a chair.
Australians are being urged to donate blood following the Bondi terror attack. I'm at a donor centre in Sydney CBD where the line wraps around the building and people are waiting upwards of 3 hours to donate blood because of how many people want to donate. Lifeblood Australia, the blood donation arm of the Red Cross, issued an urgent call out for donations, especially type O negative blood, following the Sunday evening attack. O negative is the universal blood type and is used on patients in emergency situations when their blood type is unknown, although Lifeblood is saying that all blood types are welcome for donation. Blood donations have already been transferred from interstate following the attack, meaning donations are welcome across the country, not just in Sydney.
If you're feeling healthy and well and you're aged between 18 to 75, you should hopefully be able to donate blood. We encourage anyone, if you can, to make a booking.
The call out was issued after 2 gunmen opened fire on an event marking the first day of Hanukkah at Bondi Beach on Sunday night. 15 victims were killed, including a 10-year-old girl. One of the 2 alleged gunmen was shot and killed, while a further 42 people were taken to hospital. Dozens remain in hospital, including 2 police officers who responded to the incident.
These kind of stories just don't happen in Australia. So to see that, and to see that at our doorstep, is just really, it's really scary.
They let us know it probably might take up to 6 hours of waiting, but I had work today and I literally said, I'm not coming in today. I can't pretend to just be normal after what's happened.
New South Wales Premier Chris Minns says people wanting to do something practical to help should donate blood.
If you can't get into an appointment today, please consider making an appointment in the coming days, in the coming weeks, and any blood donation would help.
Why does everybody have to donate money if Jewish people are generally richer than others? Muslims and Jews should be held accountable for this. Other people should not be involved, as they have nothing to do with this. See what Mr. Feldman has to say to this in the next clip from the ABC.
Okay, we want to bring you back to the situation here because we are joined by the leader of Newtown Synagogue in Sydney, Rabbi Eli Feldman, who was a close friend of Rabbi Eli Schlanger, who was tragically killed in Sunday's terror attack. Rabbi, thank you so much for joining us and our condolences to you.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us about the Rabbi?
He was an angel in the guise of a human. He was someone, I've known him for 25 years. We studied together in Rabbinical College in Israel before either of us were married. And been close ever since. What a special human being. Loved everyone. Doesn't matter the difference who you are. He was it's a little known fact, he was one of the prison chaplains here in New South Wales, and he'd drive 7-8 hours each way just to look after one inmate. That's the type of person that he was.
What sort of effect is this had in the immediate aftermath on the Jewish community here? Because we've heard from so many people, there's security guards, there's some anger, there's some grief, there's some other people who are still in just total disbelief this has happened.
There's the whole range of emotions. People react to tragedy in so many different ways. There's also defiance. There's resilience. The Jewish people are people that brush ourselves off and move forward. But there are some serious wounds that need to heal, and I think at this stage it's not just the Jewish people, it's Australia, and we need to come together. We need to come together for the victims, we need to come together for their families, we need to come together for all of us together, because as a country we need to heal.
Rabbi, how can we do that? How can we help and support the Jewish community?
So there are two things that can be done. First thing is within the last day there's been a fundraiser that's been set up to support the families, and that's anyone can just go on the website and give a donation, charity.com, charidy.com/support Sydney. So that's a way of going in there and being able to help the families who are just facing unimaginable loss and costs that are going to come up that they never would have thought of.
Can I just ask about that? Because I think it's really important to spell this out for people who might be wondering about this. I mean, when you lose a loved one, you have an enormous amount of grief, but also in many cases the financial supporter of a family, right? And now people are wondering, not just coming to terms with that, but also wondering how they then pay for their life as well.
Well, you don't financially plan for a terrorist attack, unfortunately, and so here you have, Rabbi Schlanger, Rabbi Levitan, many of the others, who just breadwinners, and now it's all gone, and the family are scratching their heads and figuring out what do we do now. Orphans, widows, I mean, it's horrific. So yeah, if people can pop in and donate, I think that's really, really important. So that's number one. And number two is that in Judaism, thoughts and prayers are important. And the last person you'll hear downplaying prayers is a rabbi. But having said that, we believe that thoughts and prayers need to be coupled with action. And I think that as the Australian people, we've faced the darkest day in our history on Hanukkah, which is about light. And I think that we as Australian people need to increase in light. And the way we do that is by acts of goodness and kindness, being kind to each other, being better people, and embodying Australian values, which are Judeo-Christian values, the Bible, God. Let's be good people, because that spirit is in this country, and we're saddened, but we know that spirit can be awakened in our people.
We've heard a lot of criticism this morning, some of the government. I mean, the Home Affairs Minister, Tony Burke, was heckled here last night by a couple of people. We've heard criticism of the media, including of the ABC, and a lot of different views on how to tackle anti-Semitism. What sort of things would you like to see done in this moment?
I think it's important. I mean, I'm just looking at you right now. Right behind you, you've got the Australian flag and the Israeli flag. I think that says it all. Israel as a country and as a place is the ancient indigenous homeland of the Jewish people. And while I'm a loyal Australian, I'm a fourth generation Australian, I love this country, there is a connection to our ancient ancestral homeland which is deep in our DNA. And we believe that we can be loyal to Australia and still love Israel because of our religious, historical connection to that. And so I think that needs to be understood more, the connection between Jewish people and Israel. And when there's a conversation, and there is conflict in the Middle East, and we're grieved by any conflict, it's terrible. What's going on, loss of life is horrific. The conversation needs to be a little bit more sensitive in understanding the strong connection that Jewish people have with Israel.
Rabbi, you are no doubt looking after members of your community.
Yes.
How do you look after yourself as well? Because you're grieving and you're mourning too.
Yes. I can't even think about myself right now. Right now it's about the families. Right now it's about the community. Right now it's about, we've got to do act. Right now is a time of action. There'll be a time to think about ourselves, but right now we've got to think about the people who are in need.
What happens over the rest of this week? Obviously it's Hanukkah, and then you're balancing that with, I guess, now preparing for funerals, preparing for, I'm guessing, quite a big vigil as well. A lot of people are asking about that too. So what's going to happen through this week?
It's interesting. I mean, as you say, juggling so much. I was on a Zoom meeting last night with many rabbis talking about, well, we have all these massive celebrations going on. We've got a big menorah in Martin Place. We're going to have a huge celebration. We had massive celebrations planned for Hyde Park. What do we do about all that? How do we keep the community involved while at the same time balancing security concerns, unfortunately, as well as being sensitive to what's going on?
Rabbi, thank you so much for your time.
In summary, Mr. Feldman is probably a creep, a hypocrite, and quite possibly a pedophile. Here's a clip featuring a Jewish woman named Victoria Teplitsky. Do you agree or disagree with what she has to say? It's up to you.
Now, the daughter of one of the injured victims, Victoria Teplitsky, joins us now here at Bondi Beach. Victoria, welcome to News Breakfast.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
Sad. Still optimistic. I'm grateful that my father is alive. Obviously mourning some friends in the community, some really good people. I noticed you were talking about Ellie. He was a beautiful, wonderful, so kind, such a good man. Reuven, my ex-neighbour, also just a really good, very proactive man. And feeling angry. Feeling angry.
Can you tell us about what happened to your father and how he is now?
My father was seated, being elderly. He's 86 years old. He was seated. He was here to celebrate Hanukkah, which is light and positivity into the world. He was seated, and as soon as he got up, he was shot in the lower leg. He fell down. Massive hole in the leg, obviously in a lot of pain, and Nadezhda, his girlfriend, was next to him, and she thought fast, and she took off her belt and she made a tourniquet around his leg because there was a lot of blood, and at that age, if you don't have to die from you can die from. So yes, so grateful to my mum above, who's looking after my dad, his girlfriend here on Earth.
How old is your dad, and how is he doing now?
He's 86.
Gosh, that's a lot to go through at 86.
Yeah, he's 86. He's a Holocaust survivor. He's a survivor of anti-Semitism in the ex-Soviet Union. He grew up tough, my dad, and he came to Australia. He brought us here because he didn't want my brother and I to go through the same experience, and we didn't for many years. We didn't for many years until October the 7th, 2023.
How are you feeling right now? Because there's some really good things happening here around this community. Like, a lot of people are coming together.
We're so appreciative of that. Yeah. How are we feeling? Is this what you wanted? Is this enough now? Will you listen to us? Albanese, Wong, will you listen to us? Will you actually do something? Will you actually... don't have to stand up and say anything because we don't believe you anyway. And ABC, I've got to say, will you cut out the biased reporting? Mainstream media, we feel will you cut it out? Will you actually let us have a voice? Because we feel that part of the reason that the Jewish people have experienced such a massive change in Australia towards us. I'm Aussie. I'm not a religious Jewish girl, but a woman. But since October the 7th, since all the hatred that's been thrown at us, I started to wear my Magen David because I'm Jewish, and if you have something to say, you can say it to me. And ABC, please stop with the biased reporting.
Victoria, we are so sorry for what you are going through and what you have been through, and we really hope that your father recovers. I know all of us here, we are horrified by what has been going on. So thank you for joining us and sharing your story, Victoria.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well,
do you understand what Mrs. Teplitsky is saying? She is accurately stating that the ABC is a biased news broadcasting corporation and are only predominantly telling one side of the story, whereas in this next clip, Sky News Australia, which supposedly stands for its democratic belief in freedom of speech, won't even let the woman speak.
Let's go live back to our senior reporter Caroline Marcus in Sydney, where a pro-Palestine supporter has attempted to disrupt tributes and has been escorted by police. Caroline, what can you tell us?
Well, a short time ago, tensions really flared here outside the Bondi Pavilion, just metres from where this massacre took place. A woman wearing a Palestinian keffiyeh turned up to this vigil, this makeshift memorial in place here. The crowd surrounded her. There are a lot of members of the local community here as well as Jewish community mourning the victims, and people were asking her to leave very forcefully at times. Police ended up surrounding this woman, about 20 officers, I counted roughly, and escorting her several blocks away from here. But after she had been allowed to remain in place for some time, police were pushing us away. We were trying to cover what was happening and ask this woman why she had attended on such a day. This is my exchange with her.
Will might call you. I don't know. I said that I wasn't exactly sure what's happened, but...
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Why did you turn up today?
Get out of here.
Get out of here. Have you heard that?
Keep going. Let's go.
Nine's there.
Keep going.
9 our colleagues are there. It's not quite fair. I can.
Are you able to tell us why you came here today?
Absolutely. I'm very happy to tell you why I came here today. I'm entitled to speak and they're entitled to ask me. I came here today because I'm a Jewish person, because my family was murdered in the Holocaust, because I have community members murdered here.
Let's go.
And I'm being threatened with arrest for talking with the press.
Move, please.
Were there no Israeli flags here, we would not have worn a keffiyeh. Because this community has politicised this tragedy, we are standing here because the flag of Israel represents the genocide. All Jews are entitled to mourn.
Come on, man, I need to
Take away the Israeli flag.
Yes.
Move.
Oh, I'm ready. So this woman, as you could hear, she said she was Jewish herself and she has the right to mourn, but she really antagonized a lot of people in the crowd who questioned why police didn't move her on more quickly.
All in all, if you won't listen to anything I have shown you, you should listen to what this longtime politician named Bob Katter has to say.
Well, for more, joining us live is member for Kennedy, Bob Katter. Bob, thank you very much for joining us. I don't know if we got to see that story, but the hero from the Bondi attack on Sunday, Ahmed Al-Ahmed, and our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, just spoke to him in hospital. The Prime Minister said that we are a brave country and Ahmed represents the best of our country. What do you think, Bob?
We give out Good Australian Awards for outstanding people. There's only been about 10 of them handed out, often by the Prime Minister, but they're for North Queenslanders. But we've just declared him an honorary North Queenslander. We're going to give him a Good Australian Award.
And Bob, a National Cabinet meeting is going to convene on Monday to discuss gun legislation laws following the Bondi terror attack, which is the worst mass shooting since Port Arthur in Australia. Many people are saying that the gun reforms are a distraction, but I believe that you just addressed the gun laws a short time ago. What did you say?
It's a diversion, and it's an appalling diversion. I mean, the total failure of the gun laws, the total failure of the police, the total failure of ASIO. This bloke was on a watch list. He'd been over to the ISIS-Hamas area a year or 2 years before. You know, he should have been on the tightest of watch lists. And he's there with 2 semi-automatic, high-powered rifles. I mean, a mockery of the gun laws, a mockery of the police, and a mockery of ASIO. Now, I don't want to knock the police because there's been incredible bravery shown by the police in Sydney. Incredible bravery. But, you know, I mean, they're just not set up to deal with this sort of problem. And they're under political pressure, under political direction. Now, the diversion has occurred because they don't want the finger to be pointed where it should have been pointed, at our immigration laws. I mean, if you allow a person not only to come into this country from a wicked country where they murder people, intolerance and violence and killings, the Middle East, North Africa, not only do you allow them to come in from that area, but you don't check them out individually and you don't keep a watch on them. So, diversionary tactics, let's blame the guns. Well, a gun doesn't shoot people. The person holding a gun shoots people. And the people that shoot people are are not people that have gun licences. There weren't any gun licences on these weapons. Port Arthur, the other mass killing in Australia, there were no gun licences there either. So much for your effectiveness of your gun laws. You can pass all the laws you like, but it won't stop Port Arthur. It hasn't. It didn't stop Port Arthur. It won't stop Sydney. It didn't stop Sydney. So it's a diversionary tactic to lead you away from the real problem, that we are bringing people into this country that are extremely dangerous people, and you let them in. Now we're checking up, but according to media reports, the Minister for Immigration brought 2,000 people in from an ISIS area in one day, and he greeted them as they arrived in Australia. So that is the attitude of the Australian government. Now I don't think it's the attitude of the Prime Minister, but he's not controlling this outfit. He's not controlling this outfit, and he must take control. This is a diversionary tactic to lead us away from the problem of bringing people in this country from countries that have no democracy, no rule of law, no Christianity. I won't be apologising to anyone for saying that. No industrial awards, no egalitarian traditions. Well, what the hell are you bringing them into this country for? And I'll tell you why. Because they vote for you. And if you're a Liberal, you brought them in to prove that you, really have no racial or religious prejudices. So to prove you have no racial or religious prejudices, you're bringing people from Hamas and ISIS areas into this country to prove that you're, I'm really a good guy.
Bob Katter, we're going to have to wrap it up, but thank you so much, Federal Member for Kennedy. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Let's see what Pauline Hanson and Barnaby Joyce are doing.
Now, meanwhile, let's move on to a short time ago. Pauline Hanson and Barnaby Joyce visited the site of the growing vigil at Bondi. Sky News reporter Caroline Marcus spoke to them.
I'm very emotional being here today and to be around the people of Australians, and especially to meet Matilda's grandparents, the loss that they have. I can't express it in words. I thought to myself, what would it be like if it was my grandchild? And a lot of other people will think exactly the same. It's look, Caroline, what I've done, I've always been me. I've always tried to be upfront and honest with the Australian people, even though it may not sound well or goes down well over the years, that type of thing. But from October the 7th, 2 years ago, I've stood strong with the Jewish community and how they've been treated, and it was wrong for this to be allowed to go on. The Jewish community have seen my support for them, and I've called out what I thought the Labor government was doing wrong. They never went out there to protect them, and it shouldn't be happening in a country like this. This is not the Australia that I grew up in. And I think the Jewish community, I haven't turned up today, saying, oh, well, to politicise this. I think it's the worst thing in the world to do that. I've come here today with Barnaby to show our support for the community, but I want Australians to know there is hope. We will fight against this. We will fight against this hatred on the floor of Parliament force the government to deal with the issues. For Albanese to come out, he can't even use the word that this is an Islamic terrorist attack. He can't even use the words. He's now deflecting to it's the guns issue, and so is Minns. It's not about the guns. It's the person behind the guns.
Barnaby, people were begging you and Pauline to do something. What can you do? What can the government do if gun reform is not enough?
Well, you have to change the whole culture of government. I think, first of all, you have to change the narrative. Imagine there are sometimes we have to remove this idea that if you are Jewish, there is somehow a sort of an out clause that you can be, you can all of a sudden change your actions towards it. Let's look at this. If we heard that there had been a massacre at Brighton Les Sands against Greek people, or in Leichhardt against Italian people, or out in the country against Aboriginal people, it's the same. You just can't go finding races of people that you don't like and then start murdering them in a country called Australia. So what do? We say, first of all, there is not multiculturalism. Let's just remove that from the lexicon. there is an Australian culture, and it comes with certain rules and certain guidelines, and those guidelines go into policy. And if they're not fulfilled, they're fulfilled in our attitude and they're fulfilled in policy. And we're allowed to say, if the risk is too much for certain people from certain areas to come in, then we have to abide by that risk, because we can't have another day like this.
Is this another supposed hero?
With Michael Usher.
Good afternoon, live from Bondi Beach this Tuesday. I'm Michael Usher with you again for special coverage from 7 News. Behind me, here at the pavilion, a steady stream again of mourners adding to that incredible makeshift floral shrine, pausing in prayer, some in song and some silence, a lot of tears, of course, for the lives lost in Sunday's terror attack. This is a city that is certainly struggling to process a wide range of emotions, a mix of emotions. There is, of course, unbearable grief. There's heartbreak. There's some fear still, and some rising anger. So throughout this hour, we'll bring you the latest facts, everything we know about the tragedy that played out here, this iconic Australian landmark that's certainly been changed forever. Guiding us through today's developments is our team of reporters standing by live in all the key locations across Sydney. We'll also have the rest of today's headlines from across the country, but first, let's have an update on the 15 confirmed victims. They are 82-year-old Marika Pogany, identified as the 9th person who was killed. 10-year-old Matilda, the youngest, was enjoying Hanukkah celebrations with her younger sister and her dad. 87-year-old Holocaust survivor Alex Kleitman is the oldest. Rabbis Eli Schlanger and Yaakov Levitam. There's Tibor Weitzam, who died trying to shield his wife, and retired veteran police officer Peter Marr. 27-year-old French engineer Dan El-Kayam, businessman and philanthropist Reuven Morrison. They're the ones identified so far. 25 people remain in hospitals across Sydney, where they're being treated for a varying degree of injuries. 6 of them are in critical conditions. Now, among the hurt, the hero Ahmed Al-Ahmed, who received a visit from the New South Wales Premier, Chris Minns, last night. And Constable Scott Dyson and his colleague, probationary constable Jack Hibbert, who was shot while responding to the atrocity. Now, we'll have a full report on their conditions in just a moment. Certainly, now, it's been revealed the killer's father and son made a trip to an ISIS hotspot in the Philippines and only returned, we understand, in the last fortnight. 50-year-old Sajid Akram and his 24-year-old son Naveed Akram spent a month overseas together. The pair came back, hired an Airbnb and lied to the rest of their family about going on a fishing trip before carrying out their shooting spree. Now, our reporter will bring you all the new details shortly on that. But gun ownership laws will be tightened after the country's worst mass shooting since Port Arthur. The New South Wales Parliament will be recalled from its Christmas break to discuss the reforms. The Prime Minister is promising to strengthen legislation after a meeting of National Cabinet late yesterday afternoon. Our leaders are going to look at new limits and a review of licences. We'll have all the reaction from Canberra coming up as well. And blood banks have reopened their doors for desperately needed donations. Yesterday, more than 50,000 appointments, quite extraordinary, were booked in 24 hours. That is double the previous record. 7,800 people actually rolled up their sleeves on Monday. Centres were overwhelmed by generous Australians. Lifeblood is encouraging all of us to look online for a spot, so please keep being generous in that. It's desperately needed. We begin this hour with breaking news, and this is quite extraordinary. Chilling new dash cam of 2 heroes who tried to stop one of the gunmen before he joined the rampage. Chief reporter Chris Reason is across this development, joins me now. Chris, what do we see?
Good afternoon to you, Michael. Well, this truly is an extraordinary development. The pictures are as heartbreaking as they are confronting, but the story needs to be told. You can see behind me the pedestrian bridge where the gunman sat on Sunday afternoon firing off those shots at the assembly of Jewish people. But just before that outbreak of shooting began, we have a moment captured on dashcam video by a driver coming down here, Campbell Parade. We'll play it for you now. On that dashcam video, you can see that what appears to have been the 2 gunmen have just parked their car, that silver grey Hyundai Elantra, on the side of the road, and they've just got out of the car with their guns, with their ammunition. They're confronted by two people. One, an older gentleman who seems to have challenged the older of the two shooters, the father, Sajid Akram. They've got into a bit of a struggle. You can see on that video there that somehow the older gentleman has managed to get that gun, that long arm rifle, off the gunman. The car then moves beyond the shop, but we're looking now at other shots and other information that we have. It appears that then that gunman, the older gunman, Sajid, has had a second weapon and turned it on that heroic bystander and taken his life, and also the woman, the female that was with him there. The two of them later seen, their bodies beside that Hyundai car. Now, the car, we can show you this video again and again, but it clearly looks, and this is assumption, we're going to put this to the police commissioner in a press conference in a short time from now, Michael, to confirm this, but it looks as though these people have realised what's about to happen, and they've taken the extraordinary step, the heroic step of challenging the gunman and getting that gun off them.
Goodness me, Chris, just when we think we've seen it all in this story, now we have this revelation. So just to underscore what you're saying, we're believing that this is at the very beginning, perhaps before it all began, and those two heroes were very quick to try and do something, but unfortunately it's cost their lives. Is that right?
Ended in their lives lost, exactly, Michael. I mean, we believe, and we're waiting to have this confirmed, but this looks as though this has happened before the first shot has even been fired. The son of the two of them, Naveed, isn't in that video. It looks like he has moved ahead, potentially already taking his position on top of that pedestrian walkway. It's just the Sajid, the father, who is having this fight with the two heroic bystanders. The car moves on, the dash cam moves on, and we don't see how that finalises in that video, but we can tell from others that somehow that Sajid had that second weapon, and it looks like he's then turned it on that bystander, shot him, and also shot the woman who was with him that day on the footpath. Now, that gun that the man, the heroic bystander, managed to wrestle from the gunman was later seen in video still beside the bystander, beside his body on the footpath here behind me. And you can also see, I should note, from that dash cam video, that in the windscreen of the car, the Hyundai, is the black Shahada flag that's been seized by ISIS groups and terror organisations across the world. And that clearly can be seen hanging up in that front windscreen.
Yeah. All right, Chris, that's quite extraordinary. I know you're going to be asking the authorities a lot of questions about this today, and our love and support for the families of those two people that tried to do their best early on. Chris Reason there, thank you very much.
To end this video, on a final note, to all of you around the world, if anything similar to this happens in your country, ask yourself the following questions. How did Yossi Landau and his crew get to Australia so quickly and conveniently in a short time frame? Why do the Jews request blood donations, especially specific blood donations, if they could supply their own? Why do the rich Jews require funding or donations, especially for the rich, affluent families in Bondi? Be aware. Other than that, good luck. See you in the next video.